wellness revolution starts now.
Hello, this is Dr. Hotze. Welcome to our program today. It's my privilege to have one of our guests on the program today, Emily Stellfox. Emily lives in Florida right now, I think in the Tampa area. Isn't that right?
We're down south in Pompano Beach.
Pompano Beach, okay. So, but she's in Florida, originally from Texas, and they moved to Florida. And she came in as a guest in September of 2023. So, Emily, why don't you just kind of lay out the background? What was going on in your life at that time? You were 38 years old, I think, when you came in initially. You'd had 3 or 4 children?
I just had my third child at 37. So when I first originally came in, everything just didn't seem like it went back to normal after having my little Riesling, who's our number 3. How I felt when I had my first 2, I just wasn't able to bounce back, I guess is the best way to say it. So my first initial thought was it must be something to do with thyroid or hormones. I'm getting older, but I need some help someplace in getting back to where I considered my normal would be to be able to function, sleep properly, take care of my family. So that was when I originally contacted Dr. Hotze's office and just said, hey, I'm having this array of symptoms. I don't know what they are. It could be hormone. It could be something else. But that's where I wanted to start.
Let's go over the symptoms that you were experiencing. First, let's talk about menstrual symptoms. Had you had any change in your menstrual cycle?
Yeah, I went from having a fairly normal period to now having a very heavy one.
And it would last how many days would your periods last?
It's fairly normal. It was about 7 days, but it was very heavy, not normal to what I had originally experienced.
And this occurred after your third child?
Yeah, this was after Riesling.
Okay. Well, let me explain to our listeners, this is a very common complaint we see in women in their 30s after childbirth. And what happens as a woman ages and goes through her menstrual life, it may start, at 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that range. And that's when the hormones kick in. The ovary begins to make estrogen and progesterone, and young girls begin to have their menstrual cycles. And routinely, in a perfect world, it's every 28 days. But that varies, obviously, from woman to woman. And as they mature, then the ovaries get older. So by the time you're 37, your ovaries been working for about 25 years. They're 25 years old now, and they don't produce as well as they did when you were younger. And oftentimes, childbirth can precipitate a problem, because when a woman is in childbirth or is carrying a baby, her ovaries basically shut off. The placenta of the baby makes all the hormones and huge amounts of progesterone. And then when the baby's delivered and the placenta's delivered, there's a dramatic drop in progesterone, and women commonly will get new baby blues. Maybe they get depressed, and doctor puts them on antidepressants and all this, when all they need is really some progesterone. And then they begin to have menstrual problems, and as they hit their 40s, they don't ovulate every month. And when you don't ovulate, you're not making any progesterone, which is balancing the estrogen. In a perfect world, you make the estrogen, it proliferates the inner lining of the womb, you ovulate at day 14 or 15, and where you ovulate, that's the part of the ovary that makes progesterone. And the progesterone then balances out the estrogen and matures the inner lining of the womb. If there's no pregnancy, the hormones stop, slough the inner lining of the womb, and start over. And what happens is women mature, they become estrogen dominant. They don't make as much progesterone, and their periods tend to get heavier. They get cramping. They get headaches. They get fibrocystic breast disease. They get mood swings. That may start 2 or 3 days before the period, may start 2 weeks before their periods. So these are symptoms that we commonly see in women as they're marching through their menstrual life. And then by the time you hit on an average of 50, you quit making your hormones altogether. And that's a whole nother story of how we treat that. So this is what you experienced at 37 or 38, Emily, is very, very common. We see this commonly all the time. Had you talked to any of your physicians back home? You were from Saline, Texas, I believe, right?
Yes, Salina.
By the way, where is Saline?
So it's North Dallas.
Okay.
45 minutes to an hour. You're pretty close to the Oklahoma border, though.
There you
So
go.
it's pretty far north up there.
So anyway, had you talked to your local OB-GYN that delivered your babies about your menstrual irregularities and the other symptoms you were having?
Yeah, so I did. I went in because I was also having issues with ovulation. I could constantly feel myself ovulating, and it was very painful on one side. Again, I had the cystic fibrosis breast as well. I had that issue. So a lot of the symptoms that you just described was certainly what I had or what I was going through. And they just kind of said, that's what happens. We'll watch it. I ended up doing ultrasounds to make sure that there was nothing on the ovaries or fibroids in the uterus, and everything came back normal and clear. But yeah, I was still having some pain throughout my cycle.
So, but he didn't really prescribe any treatment. He said, we're just going to watch it, and this is commonly what happens, and, this is what you're going to have to learn to live with, I guess, basically.
Yep, pretty much.
So now, also, you had mentioned that you had developed some allergic problems as well. You were developing some hives. You had problems with certain foods you ate. You even started to have some wheezing and asthma.
Yeah, so I thought it was very strange that at 37 I would develop asthma as an adult, but I was starting to see a pattern with different foods that I would eat. I would literally break out in hives all over my body. And it was terrifying because eventually the medication that I was taking was no longer even helping keep it at bay.
And what were you taking? Claritin?
I was on Claritin, I was on Allegra. I just kept switching things up to see if I could get some reprieve from the hives. And they kept coming. So then when I finally went to see Dr. Ellsworth, he was the one that said, I think that you have some issues with potentially leaky gut as well as maybe some environmental allergies.
Right. Now, this is another important point I want to stress to our listeners. I went into allergy treatment after listening to women like Emily who would come in and say, I never had allergies before, but after my last baby, ever since then, I've had allergies. So I knew allergies were, and I had an allergy practice. That's how I started the Hotze Health Wellness Center, strictly allergy. And I would have women in midlife come in, at 30, 35, 37, 40, and say, I never had allergy problems till I had my last baby. And now I've just got allergies all the time, just like Emily has had. So I knew that there was a relationship between hormonal imbalance and the immune system. And if they weren't balanced out, the immune system, if it had a predisposition genetically towards allergy, boom, the allergies were off and running. And it was at that time, it was in 96 when I was introduced to natural bioidentical hormones, particularly progesterone, to balance out the estrogen. And once we started doing that, we could help relieve the allergic disorders, and plus we also treated them for allergies. So you came here and you saw our allergist, Ron Parker, and I know we started you on some Melanox to help cut down on mast cell rupture and spilling of histamine. Yeah. And we also put you on low-dose immunotherapy, and we also made some dietary recommendations, gave you a yeast cleanse, and put you on some natural hormones and some vitamins and minerals. So tell me, how long did it take to get your asthma under control?
So the asthma, once I cut out gluten fully out of my diet, the asthma quickly subsided.
I'm
I
sorry, when you
realized
cut what out of your diet?
gluten.
Gluten, right.
Yeah.
Wheat
So
product, gluten's in wheat. So,
yes, any wheat products. Once I cut that out, I started finding relief from the asthma. Not necessarily the hives, though. I still had issues with the hives. It took a pretty radical diet of just basically eliminating absolutely everything out of my diet before and then gradually add things back in, that I was actually able to start figuring out what I could eat, what I couldn't, and then 2 years later, I can eat whatever I want to now, but I'm pretty selective on the things that I allow into my body.
well, I know I saw you were on the GAPS diet, and I read about that. And
Yeah.
basically, the GAPS diet is very similar to a ketogenic diet. You cut out your simple carbs, your sugars, processed foods, wheat, corn, and simple carbohydrates like rice and potatoes, and you eat meats and broths and salads. And I think you incorporated that into your diet, and that's where you got control of your allergic disorder,
Yes. Yeah. So I ended up basically for almost 2 weeks, I just did chicken and chicken broth
right?
because I needed to see what was affecting me, because I could eat green beans and vegetables and I would still break out in hives. So I knew it wasn't specifically just the gluten or the yeast, even though I know I had issues with yeast buildup for sure. So once I kind of did that, I did the 2 weeks of basically a very strict diet, started adding things back in. Then I was able to tell, okay, I'm not ready for this yet. I have to wait on adding this back in. And over a period of time, I was then able to heal. My gut was able to heal. And Dr. Ellsworth was the one who said, I think you have issues with your gut health. So when I radically focused on gut health, the GAPS diet, a specific yogurt that Dr. Ellsworth also recommended to me to start making, building up the good probiotics in my system, eradicating all of the other junk, the yeast that had built up. I started finding a lot more relief and felt way better as well. My energy went up, my skin cleared up. There was just a radical health difference. My period got better over time too.
And you were on progesterone too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a low dose progesterone.
Right. Well, this is really instructive about food allergies. Many people have food allergies that are totally unrecognized. So they get drainage, they get cough, they get congestion, maybe they get asthma, maybe they get some skin rashes or hives and those sort of things. Some people have worse food allergies. Some people to peanuts, can cause a severe allergic reaction, or to shrimp or some other things like that. But it's the most important thing an individual can do is clean up their intestinal system. And that's really the large colon where your good, healthy bacteria are. And over time, whenever you take an antibiotic, you're killing off normal bacteria. Yeast overgrows. You get leaky gut syndrome, and some of the toxins begin to leak into the bloodstream. It can cause autoimmune disease. And you developed Hashimoto's thyroiditis, where you had antibodies to your thyroid gland.
Yep.
And so doctor didn't start you on any thyroid initially, I don't think, did he?
No, I've never been on any thyroid medication.
Okay. But tell us in what happened. Dr. Ellsworth was concerned that some of your symptoms weren't resolving, and he recommended you get an ultrasound of your thyroid gland. And tell us what they found.
Yeah. So to prove that the Hashimoto's was there, he wanted to see some deterioration of the thyroid, which they certainly found. They saw that my thyroid I was attacking it. So that's what Hashimoto's is. It's an autoimmune, you attack your thyroid. So he sent me in for an ultrasound. The ultrasound proved that there had been deterioration, like he thought, but I also had two large nodules on the left side of my thyroid. And pretty much right away, he said, these look suspicious. They came back as suspicious, and he just said, we'll wait. We need to see if they continue to grow. But I think eventually you're going to want to look at having half of your thyroid removed so you can take them out. So, of course, I changed diet. I tried my best to see if there was any way that I could shrink them. A year later, Dr. Ellsworth called for another ultrasound. They were still growing. And that's when he said, listen, I think you're going to need to get this taken out. I've seen this before, and I think you're going to feel better once it's gone. I was still having some symptoms. I was still having some dizzy spells. There was still some stuff that kind of hadn't cleared up. Most of my symptoms were gone. At that point, the hives were gone. The asthma was gone. But I was still having some issues with sleeping. So at that point in time was when I went and saw a surgeon in Tampa. And they confirmed that, yes, this needs to come out. This looks a little suspicious. And then this last May, they took it out, but I was diagnosed with a non-invasive carcinoma. So it was cancerous.
Well, that was a really good pickup by Dr. Ellsworth.
Yeah, praise God.
Commend him for that. That really is a good pickup. So, and you haven't had to take any thyroid since then?
Nope. So I went back to a doctor now here at the University of Miami, who I'm working with. My Hashimoto numbers are now 0. So I've been able to go into remission for that. And everything else my T3 and my T4 numbers look great. So having that thyroid removed, part of that thyroid removed, has really helped the whole process.
Right. And you're still a young woman right now. There still is potential that you may benefit from a little bit of desiccated thyroid in the future if your energy level begins to slide and you get some other problems that are associated with hypothyroid symptoms. We commonly will use just a little bit of thyroid, small dose of thyroid to kind of keep that level at a good level. Even though you may fall within a normal range right now, that doesn't mean you're getting enough thyroid into your cells. You've got to convert the inactive thyroid to the active thyroid in your cells, and that could be a potential problem. So that's something that I'm sure Dr. Ellsworth will keep an eye on. The other thing that I would highly recommend you do is eliminate all fluoride. Fluoride in your water, fluoride in your toothpaste. Fluoride poisons the enzyme in your cell that converts the inactive thyroid to the active thyroid. Your thyroid hormone is like a spark plug for the power plant in your cell called the mitochondria that enables your cells to produce electrical energy that drive all the biochemical reactions. So that's something you just need to keep an eye on.
We've converted to just doing distilled water.
Good. That's great. But the fluoride poisons that enzyme, so you want to eliminate fluoride also in your toothpaste. You can get non-fluoridated toothpaste, and he may have already recommended that, and you may be already using that.
Yep. No, we are. We're on. There's no fluoride in our house any longer.
There you go. That's great. And we got you on some vitamins and minerals as well. So it's been about a 2-year process. You've been here. You came here back in September of 23. So it's been 2 years, and over that time, if you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best you've ever felt, 1 being the way you felt when you came in, how would you rate your overall health improvement?
Oh, 10 for sure. No, I'm back to normal. I feel good. My energy levels are up. I'm sleeping well at night. I'm not killing my children or my husband and getting angry so quickly as I used to. It's a radical change.
Well, so you got your life back, and
I did.
And your husband got his wife back.
He did, and my children got a mother that wasn't so stressed and anxious and able to function. So it's been a blessing all around. It's been a journey. It certainly has.
Well, I want to, but beyond that, I commend you, because it would have been very easy for you to give up and not follow through and not take Dr. Ellsworth's recommendations and, one thing after another. And it's not uncommon for people to, feel overwhelmed and they just don't want to discipline themselves. We're basically partners in your health. Dr. Ellsworth and our staff are partners in your health. And you're in the Health Olympics, and our goal is to help you win a gold medal in the Health Olympics. So we're going to make recommendations like a piano teacher would give a piano student. Play the scales every day, and you'll learn how to play the piano or play your chords or the circle of fifths. Or if you were if you were playing tennis or golf, you'd have instructors that would show you what you need to do and practice on. And what you've done is you took our recommendations, you listened to Dr. Ellsworth and to Jill, and you disciplined yourself and took charge of your health. Your health, Emily, and I'm talking to our listeners too, doesn't belong to anybody except you. It doesn't belong to your spouse. It doesn't belong to your doctor. It doesn't belong to your insurance company or the government. Only you can make yourself healthy. And you decided to do that, and I just want to commend you. And I think that's a great story, and I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. And it hasn't stopped there, though, because now I'm implementing a lot of the things I've learned for my husband and for my children and for my aging parents as well. So it hasn't stopped with just my health. I'm able to share what I've learned with other people. And, that's what it's about, is helping others feel good as well when they don't feel good. So, and there's just little bits of wisdom and just advice that I can share through my struggles. And I certainly happily do that.
Well, I'm so proud of you, Emily, and thank you for joining us today. And for any of you that can identify with Emily's problems, don't hesitate to give us a call. We're here to serve you. We have a ministry. We believe we have a ministry for Christ. We walk in his footsteps, and he was a great physician. And what we try to do is incorporate natural approaches to help individuals like Emily and like you get on a path of health and wellness naturally, so you have energy, so you have vitality, and you've got enthusiasm for life again. And Emily's done that, and I'm proud and pleased that you were able to share your story with our listening audience. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. This has been wonderful, and you guys are certainly doing a lot for your clients. So they are benefiting.
Thank you so much. And thank each one of you for joining us. Have a great day, and God bless you.
At Physicians Preference Pharmacy, we believe that personalized medical treatment and customized medications are the best way to help you achieve your healthcare goals. Sometimes this requires adjusting the dosage form of the medication from something like an oral capsule to a tablet which dissolves underneath the tongue. This is called a sublingual tablet. Sub meaning under, lingual meaning tongue, under the tongue. And there are several reasons why your doctor may want your medications to be custom-made into a sublingual tablet. Perhaps you have trouble swallowing capsules or difficulty absorbing medications. With sublingual tablets, you still get the treatment you need in a way that is effective for you. Tablets made here at Physicians Preference Pharmacy are designed to dissolve fully under the tongue in just a few minutes and offer an additional option for you to achieve your healthcare goals.
Information provided on this program is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice and is not intended to replace the services of a physician, nor does it constitute a doctor-patient relationship. You should not use information from this radio program to diagnose or treat a health problem or disease without consulting with a qualified healthcare provider. If you have or suspect you have an urgent medical problem, promptly contact a professional healthcare provider or call 911. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution advises you to always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new treatment or with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Any application of the recommendations from this program is at the listener's discretion.